attached your parents' rubber basement with a simulated wood paneling, electric fireplace, and a painting of dogs playing poker. You're locked. That greasy spoon just off the interstate, and your cabin in the woods. Welcome to Coast AM, the very best in late night talk radio. I'm Richard Serrett, and this morning, I'm coming to you live from the home studio in Old Fort Hill, just north of Toronto. Coming up an hour one, we dive once again into the enigmatic world of ufology with a spotlight on the luminary in the field, President Denny, and his latest riveting exploration. Not from here, Volume 5. This book marks the continuation of his acclaimed series, which has captivated readers by delving into the lesser known and even bizarre aspects of UFO encounters. Preston stands as a cornerstone in the realm of UFO research. With decades of dedicated investigation, he brings forth yet another compelling volume that promises to challenge our understanding of the extraterrestrial phenomenon. In this latest edition, Preston not only highlights historical and modern cases around the globe, but also enriches our knowledge with fully illustrated and meticulous source chapters, each a gateway into the extraordinary. UFO Swarms, one of the chapters, explores the rare yet fascinating instances where multiple crafts appear simultaneously.
Come on in.
Sometimes numbering in the hundreds. For example, Preston details a case from Phoenix, Arizona, where witnesses reported seeing over 200 luminous objects in formation, an event that baffled even seasoned investigators. All in All UFOs introduces us to the concept of close encounters of the fifth kind, showcasing that encounters might be as random as they seem, but can actually be initiated by humans. Preston shares the story of a group in California who successfully summoned a UFO using coordinated thought and meditation, a groundbreaking event captured on video. And the book also delves into peculiar topics such as the presence of aliens at UFO conferences and the intriguing twin connection among contactees. In Aliens at UFO Conferences, Preston recounts eyewitness accounts of strange, unregistered participants who displayed unusual behaviors and knowledge hinting at their possible extraterrestrial origins. So join us as we explore these mysteries and more in Preston's Not From Here, Volume 5, where every page promises a journey into the high strangeness of the UFO phenomenon. So stay tuned for that. In hours 3 and 4, we delve into an enthralling saga of ancient bloodlines and biblical prophecy with our guest Gary Wayne, author of Genesis 6 Conspiracy Part 2. This compelling sequel builds on his first book, which introduced the theory that descendants of the Nephilim, a biblically referenced hybrid race born from the union of angels and human women, are covertly maneuvering to fulfill dark ancient prophecies in our modern world. In the Genesis 6 Conspiracy Part 2, Gary Wayne uncovers how these so-called giants, while no longer the towering figures of lore, have preserved their bloodlines through strategic intermarriages, maintaining their angelic heritage. Tonight, Gary will guide us through this hidden lineage, explaining how it extends its influence through elite families and secretive societies, orchestrating global events to eventually establish a unified world rule, precursor to apocalyptic prophecies. Conversation will also address the spiritual and existential anxieties that resonate with many modern Christians who feel the traditional churches fail to connect the dots between scripture and the apparent surge in globalist agendas. The Genesis 6 Conspiracy Part 2 aims to fill this void by providing a detailed exposition of how these ancient beings' plans are supposedly manifesting in today's global political and social structures. Veteran UFO researcher Preston Dennett goes where few ufologists fear to tread. Next on Coast to Coast AM. Welcome to the Audio Imaginarium. Come on in, weary traveler, and your cloak and a peg. Grab a stool and come gather by the fire. There are stories to be told, and you are among friends. I'm Richard Serrett, and this is Coast to Coast AM. Why don't you stay a while? Since then, based in as a field and Dennett began to see business fund. Preston Dennett began investigating UFOs and the paranormal in 1986 when he discovered his family, friends, and co-workers were having dramatic, unexplained encounters. Since then, Preston has interviewed hundreds of witnesses and investigated a wide variety of paranormal phenomena. He's a field investigator for the Mutual UFO Network, a ghost hunter, a paranormal researcher, and the author of over 30 books and more than 100 articles on UFOs and paranormal. Several of his books have been Amazon UFO bestsellers. His articles have appeared in numerous magazines, including Fate, Atlantis Rising, MUFON UFO Journals, Nexus, Paranormal Magazine, UFO Magazine, Phenomena Magazine, Mysteries Magazine, Ufologist, and others. His writings have been translated into several different languages, including German, French, Portuguese, Russian, and Icelandic. He's appeared on numerous radio and television programs, including this program many times, and also his research has been presented in the LA Times, the LA Daily News, the Dallas Morning News, and other papers. He's even taught classes in various paranormal subjects and lectures across the United States. And again, the brand new one, the #1 Amazon UFO bestseller, Not From Here, Volume 5. Preston Dennett, welcome back to Coast AM. How are you, my friend?
Doing well. Always a joy to speak with you. Thanks very much.
Do I have that number right? Is it 30, or have you eclipsed that 30 number yet?
2 minutes to 9, 2 minutes to the show starts.
32, 33, 35.
I hear you on that one.
Okay, I have to update your bio. I have to update your biography almost hourly, Preston, with all your other adventures. So it's a surprise you have. So let's get into here. Researches that you focus on so, for example, you put together an entire volume of books, or an entire volume of a book just dealing with, say, for example, UFO sightings at drive-in movie theaters. I mean, there's nobody else, to my knowledge, in ufology that's doing this. So here we are with Not From Here, Volume 5. I want to jump in with, again, one of these lesser-known phenomena, and that is UFO swarms, where, most people will see maybe one or two craft. Sometimes, however, as you point out, they show up in very large numbers, sometimes hundreds of craft. Can you share maybe one of the more celebrated cases in the book about UFO swarms?
Yeah, I found these very interesting because really there's not a whole lot of cases out there. It's not unusual, of course, to see 1 or 2, 3, 5 UFOs, even 10 or 20. Well, start getting numbers beyond 20, 30, or 40, there's very few cases. It kind of came to my attention when I got my own case on June 14th, 1992. There was a huge wave of sightings over Canyon Canyon. That's in Southern California, right outside of LA. And on that one night, June 14th, there were dozens of people around this small canyon area who were reporting multiple objects. Some seeing 1 or 2, some seeing quite small. But I interviewed one couple who lived very high mountains there. And they were drawn outside by questions. Behind a ridge and darting around various spots. When it happened the third time, they said, maybe we better count these. Because this went on for about 2 hours. By the time the 2 hours had passed, the wife said she counted about 200 objects.
As soon as you're in the car, beeline that shit.
Well,
Cars won't waste any time locking down the highway, but you know how to hack and shit, right? Right? Because there's a surveillance room nearby with a computer. I bet they can unlock the doors.
Out of the ground? What?
Yeah, up behind a ridge. I ended up interviewing another guy who was on the other side of the ridge, actually, and watched it. He saw these bursts of light. It's really unusual because most people, when they see an object, they'll see a dot in the sky, perhaps a star-like object on the horizon or above, and come swooping down or towards them. Not in this case. These were coming, I'm guessing, from out of the ocean. I don't know for sure. There were some reports of that on this night. So yeah, that was my first example of a UFO swarm, and I instantly thought of a really amazing event which occurred in Mexico. That was like March 1950. This is to be much more intelligent than it is. There's nothing before those things that happened like this. There was something I should say, late morning, small town of some 3,000 people, some 6,000 outlying area. But a giant super fleet, I guess, down over this little town, northern New Mexico, and just made that traffic. People were getting out of their businesses, stopped at schools, stopped stores, people were running out of their homes. They estimate about half the town at least thought it. And these were fairly large objects, some of them. Some were larger than others. But they were putting on what's clearly a display. By that I mean they wanted to be seen. I mean, there's no escaping it. They were putting on these fantastic gyrations, darting around, stopping, hovering, coming at each other, circling around each other, swooping down. And it went on for a good hour. So this is, what we would definitely call a display. They wanted to be seen.
Why do you suppose this story isn't well known, this particular case? I'm not that familiar with it.
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure. This was at a time when the cover-up was really starting to clamp down pretty hard, 1950s. So that's one reason. And while this did get national headlines, and some international, but mostly national, the press coverage was not very good. And really infuriated the residents of Farmington. They tried to explain it medical ways, balloons and what have you. Air Force One said, what you saw was the sky looked balloon, a weather balloon. Which then, which is a third explanation. People saw metallic craft. So they were different colors. Furthermore, they were moving in ways that could not just blow away. Which was supposed to have little pieces of it all over the ground.
Exactly.
So there was a lot of back and forth. Residents, there were actually around contributing witnesses, open hotspots, before being threatened. And just the icing case, these UFOs, they left after about an hour, but they came back later that day, did a repeat display. But I have to think there was a purpose to this.
Well, let me ask you about that. And this is, I'm going to ask you to speculate, I guess, but what do you suppose the phenomenon of UFO swarms tells us about, let's say, the organizational structure or the intentions of these ETs?
Yeah, like I said, a few important takeaways. One is that these objects are here very large. And we all have fleets, every country has their own fleet, which different planes and so forth. So it makes perfect sense that ETs would too. For them to show off like that, I think that's the most important takeaway. I think what they're doing, honestly, is conducting a publicity stunt of some kind, publicity campaign. Because we see this with the drive theater encounters, schoolyard encounters. UFO researchers are well aware of this term UFO display. Usually, they are invasive.
Walk with your eyes!
Sometimes, this is a really in-your-face, brazen encounter which left no doubt, certainly for the witnesses,
She a fucking
that
klepto.
UFOs are real. I think, I'm again speculating, but I think that's
I
ultimately
don't
what
consider her my
is
sister.
going on here. It was just a message saying, we're here.
Are we done yet?
It's
I gotta go.
undeniable. And there were photographs taken, by the way. By today's standards, maybe not super convincing, but pretty easy to find if you punch it in on Google, Farmington UFOs. It shows what look like metallic craft, very much your standard saucer shape. So, but with that long of a display, that many people seeing it, you think someone would take photographs. Yeah, the mayor saw it, local press reporter, so many people saw this thing.
Yeah, there's no question this case should be far more famous. Let me ask you, move ahead to another chapter. When astronomers see UFOs, there's this misconception that only the uninformed see UFOs, uneducated, the hicks see UFOs. Nothing could be further from the truth, as we learned. UFOs have been seen by all kinds of people, of course, but that includes astronomers. In fact, many astronomers have seen UFOs. Could you discuss some of the say, one of the most compelling UFO sightings by an astronomer?
Yeah, there's quite a few. I mean, Edmund Halley, way back in 1676, saw them. He discovered Halley's Comet, of course. William Herschel, the discoverer of Uranus planet. He saw some amazing stuff. A lot of really high-profile astronomers. Clyde Tombaugh, who discovered Pluto, had an amazing sighting in 1949 in Las Cruces, New Mexico, with his family of a structured craft. Became a huge proponent of UFOs and could not get astronomers to take this seriously. My favorite case, I think, is Frank Halstead, a really well-known astronomer, who on November 1st, 1964, took his wife on a train from Utah Valley from something this is very interesting. The Darshow complex over a nearby ridge. They're looking at this thing is open. It's a logic now flow. Moving away from the not be a drone. There was no ground to that. And immediately it was joined by a second object, which was your standard dolphin. It was driving around. They watched it for a good number of minutes, blinking in the sun, whole daylight encounter. And then I wonder if this is an intentional display. Yeah, there is an intention of the job. There's a very long astronomer. Frank Halstead also became very vocal. But this was an advanced machine. It was not a meteor or anything like this. But yeah, these cases should be far more well known. I really wanted to conclude this. It's good ammunition against skeptics. You're looking at the sky, shooting star, or satellite, or what have you.
These cases arrest where an astronomer has seen a UFO through the lens of a telescope, maybe even at a
Make
larger
sure there's something today that you clean up your room. Why do I need to make our cleaning all room this
Some of them are not super well-known astronomers.
I'll do that.
That's what William Herschel saw, looking through a telescope at the moon. He saw what we call TLP, transient lunar phenomena, light to the moon. These were initially thought to have to be volcanic activity. We now know that's not true. The moon is not volcanically active. They tried to say maybe it's meteors hitting it, but that became apparent that that wasn't true. Besides, these appeared in sort of geometric patterns. So yeah, this certainly has happened. There was a great case where Carl Schwalbach was working at White Sands. They were using telescope traps, national protractor, where you can basically triangulate objects 45 feet distant. When he watched this object, that was a glowing object, but that was not a meteor, because he observed hundreds of meteors. There was another witness 17 miles away, so they were able to determine pretty accurately the size, distance, altitude of this object. They admitted it to Blue Book. Like, this was not a meteor. You need to look into this. Blue Book, without any investigation. Blue Book, of course, was the Air Force study project at that time. Not put that in quotes, study project. They said, no, this is a meteor. Which is ridiculous. I mean, they didn't do any investigation whatsoever.
I would imagine for an established, well-known astronomer to come forward and go public with a sighting like that, particularly if he's attached to a major observatory, that could be a career ender.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. This is what brought Jean Mallet, very well-known in the field, and an astronomer, into the whole UFO field, because he watched them destroying evidence. They got and were able to basically track unknown objects through a telescope. And so this is not scientific method whatsoever. Jan Hynek looked into this. Of course, he's the astronomer for Project Blue Book, eventually became a great researcher. And he surveyed a bunch of astronomers who admitted admitted that they have had encounters, but weren't talking about it. A number of them said, even if I did see one, I wouldn't say anything for fear of tarnishing my reputation.
There you go. Preston Dennett is back with Not From Here, Volume 5, examining some of the more lesser-known aspects of ufology. When we come back, aliens at UFO conferences, of all things. Taking us into the break, the theme song from Sons of Anarchy.
Richard Serrett.
Say hello on X at Richard Serrett.
Peace.
Ask why, because I love you, R-E-T-T. Mark Knopfler, a new one from his brand new album, One Deep River. This is called Two Pairs of Hands. Scientists have detected dimethyl sulfide in the atmosphere of the distant extrasolar planet K2-18b, which orbits a dwarf star 124 light years away from the Earth. This gas, believed to be only produced by life, has sparked excitement as K2-18b sits within its star's habitable zone and could have liquid water on its surface. Study leader Dr. Niku Madhusudan expressed surprise and cautious optimism about the discovery, which has raised questions about the possibility of alien life. The team plans to analyze new data from the James Webb Space Telescope to confirm whether this finding indeed signifies the presence of life on K2-18b. You can read more of this story in the carousel up at coasttocoastam.com. Paranormaldate.com.
Discusses why so many people, 100 to 200. Call Big Lou at 800.
And we're back with prolific author, veteran UFO researcher Preston Dennett. Not From Here, Volume 5 is now available. Also, for buyers, again, a collection of
Pay attention. Police and banks are all equipped with alarms that go right to...
Something that you covered in the Senate report. I think it's the incident at the Del Coronado Hotel. This was a UFO conference near San Diego, California. And, I suppose why should we be surprised that aliens, UFOs would show up at a UFO conference? It reminds me that I think it was John Dillinger, the bank robber. He was asked why do you steal money from banks, and said, well, that's where the money is. Why wouldn't aliens show up at UFO conferences? But it's not as rare as we think, right?
Yeah, I agree. It's strangely appropriate. There are a lot of contactees there.
Our contact center security systems are going down for maintenance soon, but not for long. As soon as you got them, just stick the jammers in the alarm boxes outside the banks. I'll let you know when it's time.
Paul Andrews, John Hecker, of course, and a bunch of people on the night before the conference reported being taken on board a craft or seeing graves in their hotel room. It wasn't just one or two. I interviewed 8 different people.
Alright, maintenance just started. You ain't got a lot of time to plant those jammers outside the banks. Every bank that's got one of these is gonna be much easier to hit. My kind of business plan.
This is what happened. These hotels were right next door to the Del Coronado Hotel, where this was being done. Such a played game on the property. This is a very densely populated area. But it certainly got me interested, wasn't it? Much longer. I was speaking at another conference, Irvine, California, 2015, September. One of the speakers, Nancy Friedman, Linda Lindemann, a bunch of pretty well-known speakers were there. There was a gentleman by the name of Michael Knopf, a military officer who was attending this conference and had experience in his hotel room with little gray ETs who apparently healed him of a torn Achilles tendon. He didn't see them directly, but they did. The reason she said she saw the little grays there, the important didn't realize his shield. According to the physical name, she watched and herself with full craft from the hotel. The song heard on board this craft speaker at this conference. I don't remember anything like this outside on that evening reported seeing UFOs. So that's a much deeper dive. Looks around that same time, actually. Jensen Reverend John Cole, that he was attending a conference before annual experiences on August 2015. The alleged blue beam showed up. The mention was able to pay to get in. Quite a few people saw this. He interviewed some 20 people who gave reports to me. All very odd looking, bluish, and beam. That's a controversial case, to say the least. But yeah, there's some witnesses who report that they were not normal looking. I saw quite a few cases where UFOs are hovering over conferences. In my favorite case, honestly, was Contacts of the Desert conference, Granddaddy of all of them.
Yes.
June 4th, 2016, was being held in Joshua Tree. There were good 200 or 300 people who saw numerous UFOs and putting on what appears to be a display. These were objects which were described as yellow or blue or red or green, darting across the sky, then stopping, shooting straight up. Definitely non-conventional movement. But people were looking at this with binoculars. Some were seeing them with night vision goggles. There were camera crews there who allegedly filmed this. Could not find that evidence. They did find 20 different first-hand, not hearsay, first-hand eyewitness accounts. They said, oh yeah, these are unusual objects.
Well, it's the 10th anniversary just around the corner for Contact in the Desert. Let's see who shows up this time around. I want to go back though for a moment for the Coronado UFO conference in the Del Coronado Hotel. This is 1994, and I believe it was that same weekend, or maybe a few days before, or a few days after. Who shows up at the hotel? But President Clinton, who of course was very interested in UFOs. And what are your thoughts on? Is there a connection? Were the UFOs there because they knew? Ostensibly the most powerful man on the planet was going to be there.
Yeah, kind of hard to believe this was reported to them. So what still perfect intersection to it. I wonder if this was a sort of functional, like, when we do this, right, you can't stop us. You have to realize this island, Coronado Island, is half owned basically by military. This is where the Navy SEALs do their training. There's a huge police force, very densely populated. There's a lot of people on the island. And we know basically a UFO hunt can happen anywhere. I've got several people, personally, people dig hotel or probably complex in the urban area. It's fascinating to me that this is such a huge event.
Let's move, y'all. We ain't got all day.
We're actually staying. I think it was the next day. Even a stone's throw. Where he was staying in the Swiss Ambassador home, you could actually see the building, which is where at least 6 witnesses at this time. I've never got a line of sight right there. Yeah, I cannot believe that was purely coincidental. There had to be a message of some kind being sent there.
Preston Dennett, the author of Not From Here, Volume 5. I have to ask about this chapter, The Twin Connection, because I'm the father of twin boys. They're fraternal, not identical. However, there appears to be a large number of twins among the contacting population. So many cases of disappearing twins as well. I guess the obvious question is, why do ETs show a special interest in twins?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question for sure, but it's apparent that they do. There are a good number of cases. Very well known, Philip and Robert Selleck, Lynn, of course, Jack John, and Eric, the Allagash, any case, by William Collins, both reported that the ETs showed special interest in the fact they were identical twins, which kind of makes sense, because they are, this, very much genetic. Genetic material. I also find it fascinating that when people report ETs themselves, they describe them as looking like twins. Particularly human-looking, Nordic type. People will say, Travis Walton described this. They looked identical. Very could have been twins. So I think there's special fascination going on here. A lot of cases, yeah, where contactees some people twins and one disappeared. One doesn't. In fact, I interviewed a lady named Dolly Tapper. I wrote a whole book about her case. About Sweden twins. And one disappeared. Later, Dolly was adult, was actually taken on board and met her identical twin as an adult. I've got these cases myself. I've interviewed people who are contactees who are twins, fraternal as well as identical. There is a connection there. It turns out there's too many cases. Richard Moore has stayed. Most researchers that they look into it will find it. I know Catherine Martin has stayed. He's Stoner. This does turn us. There's got to be something that can do it.
Well, based on the reading I've done on the subjects, it appears that twins are not as rare as we think, and that many of us may in fact start out as twins, and the other twin very early on in the development is absorbed by the surviving child, if you will. But who's to say that people start out as twins, and one of them is taken. I mean, what are some of the theories as to to explain the apparent interest of extraterrestrials in twins? How does this connect to, let's say, broader alien research methodologies?
It's possible to say for sure. I know R.D. Six-Killer Clark, a great researcher, had a very interesting case where a gentleman was taken on board and met his twin, and they switched places for 2 weeks. So maybe this allows sort of a research foray onto Earth for ETs to learn and come back. It's real hard to say. You're asking me to speculate. I hate to do that. This is why I kind of wanted to put this chapter in, to fire more research into this. Because we really don't know. You're right. Phenomenon is poorly understood. I was looking into that. It is more common initially. There's a lot of vanishing twins, missing kids, and growing. It's clearly connected to this. And I've got several cases myself. One lady was pregnant with twins, one disappeared. Later, the child did full term. The doctors probably wouldn't happen 1 to 5 minutes in. This is when this lady was taken on board a UFO. But the child doesn't talk about his brother, which he's not have known about. So I think that this allows perhaps ETs to have a greater interaction with a contactee or a connection to them in some way. It's very hard to say for sure, but I think it deserves looking into, at least.
Well, here's another area that has not received
Ain't that beautiful,
much,
y'all?
attention.
All the jammers are up and running. By the time 5-0 figures out what's going on at one bank, you'll be on to the next one.
There's a chapter dedicated to this. I mean, what are the commonalities, let's say, found in cases where cats, specifically dogs, are reportedly abducted by aliens? And again, Leah supposes the purpose of these abductions.
Yeah, no, I think it makes perfect sense. We do know it's either small like soil sample, certainly plant sample, pretty much every point. A lot of cases, various samples being taken. I started looking into pet cases because I kept hearing reports about it myself. I found almost none about cows, which I found interesting, or other popular pets.
I don't think they abduct cats. I think they bring them and drop them off. They don't take them.
Especially. But yeah, I found 2,000 cases of people who report their dogs being taken or seeing dogs being taken. And some people who take them on board, they see a dog there being examined. There was one guy who was taken. He Kids were not really interested in him. They were interested in his dog. Really neat. But they actually had that for their dog. But people were taken on board with the dogs were killed. I think one of my favorite cases involved a gentleman who was a hunter in Bayou of Louisiana. In 2003, fairly recent case, judged by the night of South Hunter Bond. A UFO dog was running up to it. And he goes running after the dog, of course, to protect his hunter dog. Suddenly finds himself on board, being examined by Graves, or getting standard warnings against war, nuclear proliferation, what have you. And he starts looking around for his dog. His dog was floating around, paralyzed, like a stuffed animal on the side of his ground. Sorry, we have to do this. Your dog is trying to bite us. Yeah, quite a few cases of being dogs taken on board. It was a really kind of disturbing case, actually, from RD6 Killer Clark, about a farmer who watched his dog. Well, basically, she was looking down his dog disappeared. And actually, see it taken on board. He will return, the dog reappeared. And it could no longer bark. So upset that the dog was supposed to be a veterinarian. He said, I don't know how to tell you this, but your dog has had surgery and have the voice box closed. Yeah.
Hey, I wonder if they could do anything with my neighbor's dogs. Well, it's, again, just an amazing volume of cases that you put together. And this is what you do so well, Preston, is shine the light on these aspects, little known aspects of mythology. And congratulations on Dot from here, Volume 5. And I'm sure you've got enough cases for Volume 6, 7, and 8. And look forward to those as well. Preston, thank you so much for hanging out for now. I appreciate it. Preston Dennett. When we come back, the Genesis 6 Conspiracy Part 2 with Gary Wayne taking us into the break. Van Morrison and everyone right here on Coast to Coast AM.
Go to UN for different universities are also being isolated.
Real stories. I had acute eczema.
You're crazy. If you have 3 upsides,
Mystic Scriptures, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita.
promo code today to get an
Gary Wayne is a Christian Gary Wayne is a Christian contrarian who has maintained a lifelong love affair with biblical prophecy, history, and mythology. His extensive studies encompass the Bible, the Gnostic Scriptures, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, Gilgamesh, and other ancient epics, language, etymology, and secret society publications. He's the author of Genesis 6 Conspiracy, How Secret Societies and the Descendants of Giants Plan to Enslave Mankind, and the Genesis 6 Conspiracy Part 2, How Understanding Prehistory and Giants Helps Define End Times Prophecy. Gary Wayne, welcome back to Coast to Coast AM. How are you?
Well, thank you for inviting me back. I'm so happy to be with you tonight and really looking forward to discussing some things that I'm hoping if we do our job right, we're going to raise a lot of eyebrows up there tonight.
Yes, we have a lot of ground to cover in 3 hours. So let's just dive right in with the days of Noah. How let's see the conditions and events during the days of Noah. How they correlate with the, let's say, the increased activities of giants and fallen angels according to biblical texts.
Yeah, we have a sort of adjoining a couple of narratives in Genesis 6 where you have the flood story, and in the preamble to the flood story, you have the creation of the giants. And at the end of Genesis 5, you get the genealogies of the Sethites, and it ends with Noah and his 3 sons. Then we get the giant creation, and then we get Noah's commission and build the ark and flood comes thereafter. And the information that we get for this is that there's violence and destruction that was going on before the flood. So there's 100 years between the start of the commission and until Noah goes on the ark with his 3 sons and their wives, and of course Noah's wife as well. But we don't really get a lot of context with that as to who are these giants. Hebrew has believed Hebrew for giant and all the other associated words are associated with giant as descriptions of the tyrant and bully. And we also don't get a complete picture from the limited amount of detail as to the level of technology that was there before the flood. And so the violence part is why the giants are in the preamble to the flood story as the polar context. And they're taught all of the craft of war, all of the technology that accumulated to a level very quickly that has the power to destroy the earth. And you have another indication of the technology that's in the Hebrew word translated as corrupt. Corrupted the earth in Genesis 6 and Genesis 7. The whole earth was corrupted. And that's the Hebrew word shakah. That means to subvert, to ruin, to destroy. Words like that. So there's a degradation that's going on, and that's overlapped in the DNA, overlapped in the plant genome. So we get an interesting passage from Jesus in his oration to the disciples in Matthew, Mark, and Luke about the days of Noah, and then Luke matches with the days of Lot. Additional information that the end times could be like God, and that there's more than just the gospel that's going on. There's this technology and the level of that technology that we're just catching up to today, which is why we're using some of those ancient terms like chimera or DNA manipulation. And so this is the level of technology that is kind of reflecting that needs to come back in Ecclesiastes in chapter 1, where it says that there's nothing new under the sun, but what will be a gain. And it goes on to say that the understanding and gaining of this kind of wisdom brings grace and story. So we had fallen angels or God, holy theist accounts, walking amongst us before the flood, procreated in all cultures around the world, according to the polytheist account, to create demigods. Just another word for a giant, and demigod is the offspring of a god and a human female, or a goddess and a human male. And they produce these giants, known by different names and great numbers around the world. And they're able to use their size, their warrior capability, and their numbers, all of the dynasties, all of the thrones around the world. And they lead the whole war into this destruction. And their capability of going through sort of like speculation with the accumulation of this knowledge and why God brings it, so that all of the people whose names, all of the sentient beings whose names were written in the book of life before creation will have a chance to leave their names in the book of life or blotted out based on what they do while they're on the earth. And so it's very, very important that we understand what was going on before the flood, because it cycles through the post-Diluvian history as well.
You laid the groundwork there brilliantly, Gary. Now, explain the significance of differentiating between the various types of giants you mentioned, and there are mentioned in ancient texts like the Nephilim and the Rephaim and the Gibberins and so forth, and also their impact on historical human societies. Why is it important to differentiate?
There is all the information in the word and the connection to the chronology of events both before and after the flood. So one of the terms that we get for giants is Nephilim, as we've talked about, and they're described as the mighty ones. This is the Hebrew word Gibor. Giborim would be the male plural. So people would understand that in English. And interesting enough, yes, there is a female plural for that. That's Giboron, has a similar meaning and could be applied to a female giant or the application of that power. And Nephilim, biblically, were before the flood. And the only times that we have Nephilim show up, giants, in the Old Testament after the flood, is part of the angelic account of the scouts, the Exodus, who went into explore Canaan and came back with a report of having things people taller than them, as well as Anakim, king, Talmai, Geshai, that lived in Hebron, Kiryat Arba, the north known for Hebron, and that they called the Anakim the sons of giants, the Nephilim. So that's not quite accurate. That's saying that Anakim were Nephilim, and they were actually Rephaim. And we know they're Rephaim because when they're listed with other giants in the time of the Exodus, Deuteronomy 2, that they're called and known as giants like the Emim and the Zamzim and others that are listed in Deuteronomy 2. And that goes back to the Hebrew word Rapha, and Rephaim for plural for a tribe of giants. Rephaim shows up as a tribe of giants in Genesis 14 as a war of giants, in Genesis 15 as the land of the covenant being given to Abraham and his descendants that was from the Nile to the Euphrates River. So we have these terms, and we need to sort of reconcile them. And so my distinction is that definitely lived before the flood. Rephaim lived after the flood. And there's a distinction in terms of the size and the power that they had. So when we look at understanding going on in Numbers 13:33, the terrified scouts, other than Joshua and Caleb, they don't want to go into this land to fight these hybrid giants. And they want to have nothing to do with it. So they're testifying to the veracity to the giants before the flood, but embellishing it to the application that's there. So these three kings are Anakim. They are giants. They are massive, but they are not as large as the giants before the flood. Now the word Gibor describes the Nephilim in Genesis 6:4 as mighty ones. So Gibor is used about 158 times in the Old Testament. Not always to describe a giant, but describe a giant in a lot of them. Biblically, we get one application in God see where Gibor is translated as a giant in the KJV Bible. And whether or not that's a giant or not, we don't know. We could accept that as an accurate translation into English or not. But what we do know is that word describes them. However, in the Ugaritic text, which is a very important parallel set of polytheist records that was located, Ugaritic was located between Mount Hermon and Tyre in the northern part of the land of the covenant. You have a tribe of giants that are listed as GVR in the original Semitic, which Hebrew comes out when it was originally following left. And that you also have GVR or Gibor as a adjective to describe the giants as these mighty warriors. We get both applications. So you can make an argument within the Ugaritic text that talks about creation of the RPM, the Rephaim, in the original Semitic, as post-Diluvian giants, as well as another tribe of giants, also called Giborim. And they're all part of a assembly of giants that were called the Discanu, because very interesting meanings that overlap with other kinds of giants.
All right, so let's get to the post-Diluvian. I guess is that what we refer to as the second incursion? And then if you could sort of elaborate on what the second incursion entails, how it differs from the initial fall of the angels.
Yeah, and one of the things if people get confused in prehistory is because you have a hard time understanding what was the reign of the offspring gods and what was the reign of the parent gods. The parent gods reigned before the flood. They went to the pit prison for their crimes, one of them being creation of the giant, and offspring gods took over after the flood. And so you have a good example from a biblical perspective is you have El as the parent god of the Canaanite pantheon. That would be a parent god, and he would have been partnered with Ashtaroth, and they both would have created giants before the flood. Baal and Anak came over after the flood, and they create giants as well, as described in the Ugaritic text, making the Rephaim or the RTM of the original Semitic. And that's what I would call as a second incursion, is a recreation of giants after the flood. Now, biblically, we're not told how giants show up after the flood. We are told is Genesis 6:4 that the sons of God went to the daughters of men and did so again, and in like manner, if you take that back to the meaning in Hebrew, which means they could have created more giants before the flood and other procreation, and it also could be after the flood. And I think you could make a case for either. So I think a crack open that maybe definitely survived the flood somehow, some way, with the help of the gods or fallen angels, whether in the earth, off the earth, in another dimension, on another ark, however that comes about. But biblically, and you can make that case because biblically, but it's a technical legal case. You could say Genesis 6 and Genesis 7 where God brought the flood to destroy everything that he had created, except for the cave and the animals that are on the ark. And so he didn't create the giants, fallen angels who created this hybrid angelic human demigod of the world. And so what fits better biblically is a second incursion, where there would have been another probably old sworn by angels at a fight. The first that was sworn to create the Nephilim before the flood was understood as Aram and Sema, that devoted oath of consecration and to carry it out and no matter the consequences. And so one presumes there was another oath to do that, probably out of spite and in support of the angels that did that before the flood, and for the same purpose, try and wipe humankind from the face of the earth. If you remember Noah, they would not be able to reach their destiny. And so second incursion likely takes place in, as we get details in the Bible, in Sodom. And one of the things that is linked in the end time prophecies, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, is that Jesus was talking in the book of Luke that the end time is going to be like the days of Noah and the days of Lot, the days of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. And that Sodom and Gomorrah is, as you look at passages in the New Testament, like Jude 1:6 and 2 Peter 2:4, and when Jesus visits the fallen angels in the pit prison, when he was crucified, Paul linked to the crimes of the angels before the flood, and then also included in that discussion linkages in the language, like filthy language and strange talk that's going on, this procreation of the giants, and it's the same crimes that are being equated to the crimes that the fallen angels did before the flood. So we get a lot of evidence that Sodom is a location for the second incursion. And if that rings a bell with a lot of people, it's got a pretty important biblical sort of moral application. And with sexual crimes that were kind of unlimited, that were going on there as the giants were ruling over the Canaanites in the Canaanite Pentapoli in the southern Dead Sea region. So we have a likely place for the creation that is close to us. And even the first creation of giants before the flood wasn't likely done on Mount Sinai. Only be close to there. What's interesting is in the Gnostic version of the creation of the giant, you have Gamora as the location of the creation of giants before the flood. Sodom began the creation after the flood.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So there's lots of evidence for second conversion, just as you have the Greek account that talks about the angels that were killed, I mean the giants that were killed in the flood, and then another creation of giants after the flood.
All right, Gary, we've got to take a time out. We're approaching the bottom of the hour. When we come back, you know, there are skeptics out there, obviously, regarding the existence of giants and the influence of giants. Maybe we can get into some of the historical or archaeological evidence. And then we'll get into the 7 nations and the assembly of the gods. Gary Williams, the author of Genesis 6 Conspiracy, parts 1 and 2. Here's Man's Joy and Riptide taking us in a break on Coast to Coast AM.
What's happening in the news? Tropical weather with Open Mic in the News 104.5 WOKBF. Sponsored by Ad Advisory Services, saluting all military and first responders. Investigative.
It's dinner time, America. Enjoy a family dinner every day of the week at Pizza Inn with our new chicken Parmesan pizza. House breaded mozzarella, tender and spiced breaded chicken, house made bread, topped up with delicious hot marinara sauce. So put down your device, grab your family, and enjoy some quality time together at our delicious buffet. Family dinner is ready anytime. Pizza Inn, America's hometown pizza buffet. Family dinner still happens.
First alert forecast.
It's at 7, the WOKB weather meter for your Saturday evening and night. It'll be partly cloudy and mild, with overnight lows only dropping into the mid-60s. Sunday's partly cloudy and breezy, a lot like Saturday, except there's going to be less rain. There may still be an isolated shower, but it'll be partly cloudy and mainly dry. Highs will be in the low 80s with the 70s at the beaches. Then we'll warm up Monday. Our highs will be in the mid-80s while we stay dry. From the Action News Jacksonville Weather Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Corey Silla for 104.5 WOKB.
Coast to coast and worldwide on the internet. This is Coast to Coast AM. Now, here's your guest host, Richard Serra.
Welcome back. Creation, Making Time. This song, this single, we recorded the very first rock song to feature a guitar being played with a phone. After the catastrophic implosion of the Titan submersible